Great, Mischeck. It's good to have you here
Hey, Billy.
with us. I've created these conversations just as a platform, if you like,
Hmm.
to let people like yourself, people of color, talk about your experience growing up in the UK, growing up in church in the UK,
Hmm.
and really, I'm not going to comment. I'm just going to listen, and hopefully that you'll get an opportunity to share what's been your experiences, and we can all listen. So tell me a bit about your own background, Mischeck. What do you do now as well? That'd be helpful, people who don't know you.
Oh, great. Firstly, let me just say massive thank you to you, Billy. I think your posture in this season has been inspiring, just to be able to watch what you've been doing over the weeks and months. So again, just thank you again for the invitation to just have a chat and just talk, just two friends having a chat. So that's absolutely wonderful. Thanks again for that. So yeah, I was born in Zimbabwe, in the capital city, which is Harare, and so obviously I'll come back to a bit more on my background, but what I currently do, I'm a minister. I'm a lead minister in Riverside Family Church in Southampton, and I also have a privilege to be leading the AOG Southwest area here in England. So it's just a great opportunity to be doing that. But a bit about my upbringing. So born in Zimbabwe, in Harare, and over 20 odd years ago, our parents, because I'm first of four, our parents decided that they were going to shift us as a family and relocate us to England. And as you can imagine, whilst we were back in Harare, it was a totally different environment, totally different atmosphere. I went to a school that was named after Lord Louis Mountbatten, and that was just a great school, But my family, my parents in particular, felt that it was now important for us to shift the family to England, and that's when we moved over. So actually, my parents were HR professionals, and my mom was an HR professional in the government, and my dad was an HR professional in the National Monument of Zimbabwe, which was, so our upbringing was slightly different, but there was still something that was missing, which was important for the family to relocate, and that's when we relocated to England. And part of what they had to do when they relocated was to leave all of the family behind, all of the careers behind, and just start again, which is a massive legacy shift.
Yeah.
Starting from being cleaners, actually. So you can imagine coming up from government positions and National Monuments of Zimbabwe positions, and just starting as a cleaner to just shift the trajectory for the whole family. And I think for me personally, that's a legacy. That's literally the legacy that I have from my parents.
Wow. So obviously for you then, moving from a majority to a minority at school, how did that affect you? What changes took place? What did you experience, Mischeck?
So I think, yeah, school was a big game changer for me, massive game changer. Language wasn't an issue because in the school that I was in Harare, we actually spoke in English. So language wasn't an issue at all. I think it was the obvious factor because I went to a school in Essex, which was, quite renowned for not being very racially okay, but that wasn't something that I was going to let hold me back. It became very apparent when you have people wanting to touch your hair, touch your skin, and have little comments like, so when you're in Africa, do you play chase the monkey or catch the monkey? And you think, I actually went to school, I actually lived in a home, we were, it wasn't a jungle. But that is something that I could not hold against any of them, because that was just a lack of education. And I think education is a crucial part in how things move forward and in people's perceptions, and developing that as well, which is absolutely phenomenal and important to do. So for example, for me, I had this guy who was a friend of mine whilst we were at school, one of the very few people who were willing to play with me. But everything changed on one particular day when we were walking out from school. When you're still in school, you get all the parents picking you up from the school gate. And it so happened that on this day, we were walking up to the school gate together, playing around like boys do. And when we got closer and closer to the gate, his parents saw me with him. and the look on their faces was, it was enough for me to recognize that something was not right. I started to realize that maybe there is something that is different about me. Suffice it to say, the following morning, I didn't have a friend. He turned up to school, didn't want to talk to me, just walked past me, blanked me, acted like he just didn't know me. And then I think in that moment, I realized that something had changed from the school gate going through the rest of the evening at home until he came back to the school the following morning. And it just really was, obviously it was hurtful, it was impacting. But I remember as a young Christian at that point, this was around year 10, I remember saying to myself, this can't be right and this can't be allowed to continue. It has to change. So I applied to become a school prefect. And then I also applied to become a school senior prefect. And then I actually became the first ever Black school head boy in that particular school. And I remember thinking to myself, when I was appointed as a head boy, I had a conversation with myself, and the conversation was around this: do I become the Black school head boy, or do I become the school head boy? And that conversation within myself meant it would shape the outlook of how I would lead in that school going forward. And I decided I was going to be the school head boy. So that meant whether you're Black, white, Asian, if you did something wrong, the measure of justice is exactly the same across the board. So that was sort of like the positive flip on that really hurtful experience. So that continued into college life and university life as well, just really standing up for some of these things, just to make sure that there is equality across the board.
I mean, how did you find your white peers as you were obviously you have a strength of character, but what about people around you, you know, white people around you, friends, and how did they respond to you, and you know, what did you experience in those years?
So I think for most of them, when the announcement was made that I was now the school head boy, I think for most of them, they thought I was going to come down with a hammer, you know, under the guise of revenge or anything like that. And I think it really hit him even harder when I responded in love, in equality, in grace across the board. And I think that actually changed their perception of me. It totally transformed it. And I had so many friends, you know, to finish off year 11 and going into college. So even up to today, I have a vast mixture of friends. And I've deliberately done that because I think that's very important in how it has shaped my outlook.
Yeah. So you moved into ministry at some point, Mischeck. Any like experiences as you were progressing through there that's, you know, for us as church leaders, churches, that we need to be aware of?
I think as church leaders, one of the biggest reasons that we give for not being multicultural is our geographical location. So sometimes if you're a white leader and your church happens to be in a geographical location that is predominantly white, we can easily look at that as a reason for us to not implement a multicultural infrastructure within our lifestyles. For example, I was having a conversation with another leader who is white, and I just asked him a simple question, and I said, well, I understand that your geographical location lands itself for a predominantly white congregation, but I then said, how about your friendship circle? What does your friendship circle look like? Who is standing at the platform? Who are you bringing in to speak to your people? Is it just look at the people, just look at the panel of the guest speakers you have had in the last year. How many of them were non-white? To just bring that conversation or that awareness into the life of your church. I think those are some of the things that would be very important to as leaders, and both Black and white leaders, because even if you have a Black leader with a Black majority church, there has to be an awareness that says, who are my people seeing at the front? And I think for me personally, that's something that I'm very particular about as a Christian leader, to make sure that the diversity that I believe in is being reflected, even in the people and the genders that are standing at the front.
Yeah. Now, obviously, this is a moment. What do you hope this moment will achieve, Mischeck?
Oh, that's a big question. I really hope that number one, it'll achieve a wide level of awareness. I think awareness is crucial. I really hope that there's acknowledgement that comes on the back of this, which is important, and then also education. That would be also very, very important to come out from all of this, because then again, apart from me being a church leader or Christian leader, I'm also a father. And I'm a father to two lovely daughters and mischievous son. And again, so I think this whole conversation, out of all of this, I think the conversation also has to start from me as a father. Because some of the challenges I already have now with my daughters is that their perception of beauty says light skin, long hair. So I've had to have a conversation with my daughter when she came up to me and said, "Daddy, can you make my hair long to go up to my shoulders?" And and she's 5. So at the age of 5, she's already got this thing in her head saying beauty is light skin, or it's white skin, and it's got long hair. And these are some of the things that are happening that I have to navigate through. And also, for example, with my son, that's some of the conversation that I'll have to have with him is around how he presents himself, what he wears. There's some clothes that he can't afford to wear for as long as things haven't changed. Because these kind of clothes will only fuel the profiling and the stereotypes that are real. And so at least if there's anything that I can help him to do as he grows up as a young man, it's to just help to reduce that profiling. He can't control what other people think of him, but at least he can just try and shift that around until things get better. And I believe that they definitely will, So maybe the solution from a parental perspective, I think like the experience in the school, it only took one conversation from the parent of my friend to change his perception of me. One conversation, and the following day he was completely different. And I think we can flip that on its head, and just it takes that one conversation or that ongoing conversation around the dining table, around the kitchen table in the homes, where the parents are teaching crucial values into the lives of their children. And I'm convinced that that is how we will get a next generation that will not have this as an issue.
Excellent, Mischeck. Thank you for that. Any last comments to me as a white church leader, white church leaders, how can we help facilitate this ongoing conversation and see real change take place in our church and in the nation?
I think what you are doing, what you've already started doing is great. I think you just need to maintain a posture of just being willing to learn. And it's also, it's in reverse, because I think what I'm also very mindful of is this should just not be a posture that is taken by the white Christian leaders. It also has to be a posture that also the black leaders take, so that together we can collaboratively build something that is robust for generations to come. And I think the church at large is perfectly poised and positioned for bringing the solution, because there's no other, the world doesn't even know how this thing looks like, but we believe in Jesus who actually showed us how this thing happens. John 4 is a typical example. He's having a conversation with the Samaritan woman, and that was unheard of. And he begins to say, look, we can actually model this thing. And I think as Christian leaders, not black Christian leaders or white Christian leaders, but as Christian leaders, we have got to model what this thing looks like. And it starts within ourselves and our own close circle of influence.
Fantastic, Mischeck. It's great to chat, and let's keep the conversation going.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much. I appreciate that, Billy. Thank you for this opportunity. It really means a lot.
God bless you.